There was a plant so valuable that ancient Romans put it on their money. So powerful that emperors hoarded it in vaults more secure than gold. So precious that it was literally worth its weight in silver. It could control hunger, end pregnancies, cure diseases that modern medicine still struggles with. One stalk was said to be worth more than a slave, and then vanished from the face of the earth. No one knows where it went. No one knows exactly what it was. And for 2,000 years, botanists, historians, and treasure hunters have been searching for the most valuable plant that ever existed. This is the story of Silphium, the miracle plant that ruled an empire, and the mystery that still haunts us today. Our story begins in the 7th century BCE, on the sun-scorched coast of North Africa, in a region the Greeks called Cyrenaica, modern-day Libya. Greek colonists from the island of Thera were establishing a new settlement. They called it Cyrene. The land was harsh, unforgiving, and seemingly hostile to agriculture. These colonists had no idea they were about to stumble upon the greatest botanical treasure in human history. According to the ancient historian Pliny the Elder, the discovery happened during a freak rainstorm. The rains were described as black, possibly indicating volcanic ash or unusual atmospheric conditions. And after this storm, something extraordinary appeared. A plant began growing in a narrow strip of land, roughly 30 miles wide and 125 miles long, along the Libyan coast. This wasn't just any plant. The Greeks couldn't believe their luck. The plant had thick roots, a stalk as thick as a man's arm, leaves similar to celery, and yellow flowers that bloomed in clusters. But it was what this plant could do that changed everything. Within a generation, Silphium became the foundation of an empire. The city of Cyrene grew so wealthy from trading this single plant that it became one of the richest cities in the ancient world. They were so proud of their discovery that they put Silphium on their currency. Every coin that came out of Cyrene bore the image of this miracle plant, a constant reminder of their monopoly on the most valuable commodity in the Mediterranean. But why? What made this plant so incredibly valuable? To understand Silphium's value, we need to understand what it could do. And according to ancient sources, it could do almost everything. The Greek physician Hippocrates, yes, the father of medicine himself, wrote about Silphium extensively. The Roman encyclopedist Pliny the Elder dedicated entire chapters to it. The physician Dioscorides included it in his pharmacological texts that would be used for the next 1,500 years. Let's start with the most documented use: digestive health. The Romans were famous for their extravagant banquets, multiple courses, exotic foods, meals that lasted hours. And they had a secret weapon against indigestion. Silphium. Ancient sources describe it as the ultimate digestive aid. A small amount of silphium resin dissolved in wine could apparently cure bloating, ease stomach pain, and help digest even the heaviest meals. The historian Pliny wrote that silphium clears the body and has powerful digestive properties. Wealthy Romans would take it before feasts, during feasts, and after feasts. It became as common on dining tables as salt and pepper are today. But digestion was just the beginning. Here's where it gets really interesting. Multiple ancient sources claim that silphium could suppress hunger. In a world where food security was never guaranteed, where famines could wipe out entire populations, a plant that could help you feel full was worth more than gold. Think about this. The wealthy used it to digest more food, while the poor might have used it to need less food. For soldiers on long marches, for sailors on extended voyages, for anyone facing food scarcity, silphium was a game changer. But we're still just scratching the surface. This is perhaps the most historically significant use of silphium, and the one that modern historians find most fascinating. Silphium was the ancient world's most effective form of birth control. Multiple sources confirm this. The Greek botanist Theophrastus wrote that it could be used to prevent conception. Pliny the Elder noted its use in expelling the afterbirth. Cyrannus of Ephesus, the ancient world's leading expert on gynecology, recommended it specifically for reproductive control. In fact, some historians believe that the heart shape we associate with love today actually comes from the shape of silphium seeds, seeds that were intimately connected with reproduction and sexuality in the ancient world. This wasn't some folk remedy. This was documented, prescribed, and widely used by physicians across the Mediterranean. Women had a degree of reproductive control that wouldn't be reliably available again until the 20th century. The implications are staggering. This one plant may have given ancient women more bodily autonomy than their descendants would have for the next 2,000 years. But wait, there's more. Ancient physicians prescribed silphium for respiratory problems, for coughs and colds, for sore throats. They used it to treat wounds, claiming it prevented infection. They applied it to snake bites and insect stings. They used it for fever, for headaches, for epilepsy. Pliny the Elder provides a list of 40 different medical uses. 40, it was the aspirin, the antibiotic, the cure-all of the ancient world. Was all of this true? Could one plant really do all these things? Modern researchers are skeptical of some claims, but intrigued by others. We know that certain plants do have powerful medicinal properties. Aspirin comes from willow bark, digoxin, a heart medication, comes from foxglove, Taxol, a cancer drug, comes from Pacific yew trees. It's entirely possible that silphium contained compounds we've never isolated, chemicals that could have genuinely produced these effects, but we'll never know for certain because the plant is gone. At its peak, the silphium trade was the economic engine of the ancient Mediterranean. Cyrene controlled the supply completely. The plant only grew in that narrow strip of North African coast, and every attempt to cultivate it elsewhere failed. The Greeks tried transplanting it to Greece, failed. The Romans tried growing it in Italy, failed. Syria, Spain, Egypt, all failures. Silphium would only grow in Cyrenaica, and the people of Cyrene knew exactly what they had. They established a monopoly more powerful than OPEC, more controlled than the diamond trade. Every single stalk of silphium that entered the Mediterranean market came through Cyrene. The prices were astronomical. Pliny the Elder recorded that silphium resin was sold for its weight in silver. To put that in perspective, a small amount, just enough for personal use, could cost as much as a laborer earned in a month. The Roman elite hoarded it. Julius Caesar reportedly had 1,500 pounds of silphium stored in the Roman treasury alongside gold and silver. 1,500 pounds, that's more than half a ton of plant resin kept under armed guard. The Emperor Nero received a single stalk of silphium as a gift and considered it a treasure worthy of imperial notice. Think about that, a Roman emperor, ruler of the known world, getting excited about one plant? But there was a problem, a fatal problem that no one seemed to take seriously until it was too late. Silphium was being harvested faster than it could regenerate. The plant was notoriously difficult to cultivate. It grew wild, and apparently, it liked it that way. Attempts to farm it, to control its growth, to plant it in neat rows, all failed. It needed specific conditions, the right soil, the right climate, the right rainfall, and most importantly, it needed to be left alone to spread at its own pace. But economic pressure was building. Demand was skyrocketing across the Roman Empire. The Cyrenians had a fortune at their fingertips, and they were going to extract every last denarius. According to ancient sources, there was another problem: sheep. The region's shepherds noticed something interesting. Sheep that ate silphium produced meat that was incredibly tender and flavorful. So they intentionally let their flocks graze on silphium fields. This created a conflict. The plant collectors wanted to preserve silphium for harvest. The shepherds wanted to fatten their sheep. In a battle between short-term profit and long-term sustainability, short-term profit won. It always does. By the 1st century CE, warning signs were everywhere. Pliny the Elder, writing around 77 CE, noted that silphium had become quite scarce. He reported that only a single stalk had been found in recent years, the one given to Emperor Nero. The price skyrocketed even higher. What was expensive became unaffordable. What was rare became nearly impossible to find. Traders began substituting other plants, particularly Asafoetida, a similar but inferior resin from Persia. They sold it as silphium and hoped no one would notice the difference. But people noticed. The real silphium had disappeared, and then, sometime in the 1st or 2nd century CE, the last wild silphium plant died. No one recorded the exact date. No one preserved a specimen. No one saved seeds for future generations. The most valuable plant in the ancient world simply vanished. And with it went knowledge that we've been trying to recover for 2,000 years. For 2 millennia, people have been asking the same question. What was silphium really? The ancient descriptions are frustratingly vague. Thick roots, celery-like leaves, yellow flowers, resinous sap. These could describe dozens of plants. And here's the maddening part. No preserved specimens exist, not one. The Romans had botanical gardens, they collected exotic plants from around their empire, they preserved all kinds of organic materials, but not a single piece of silphium has ever been found. So what was it? Modern botanists have theories the leading candidate is a plant called Ferula tingatana, or possibly Ferula drudana, species of giant fennel that grow in North Africa. These plants match many of the ancient descriptions. They have thick stems, yellow flowers, and produce an aromatic resin. Some species can reach heights of 6 to 8 feet. They're part of the same family as Asafoetida, which was used as a silphium substitute. But here's the problem, these plants still exist. If silphium was just giant fennel, why didn't anyone make the connection? Why didn't Roman botanists say, oh, you know what this is like? That other plant over there? Some researchers believe silphium was a unique species that's now completely extinct. This would explain why it couldn't be cultivated elsewhere. It had very specific environmental requirements. It would explain why no living plant matches all the descriptions. And it would explain why it vanished completely. The narrow coastal strip where it grew may have provided a unique combination of factors: soil type, rainfall patterns, temperature fluctuations, even bacterial or fungal relationships in the soil that couldn't be replicated anywhere else. Destroy that habitat, and you destroy the species forever. A few optimists believe silphium might still be growing somewhere. Libya and the surrounding regions are vast, politically unstable, and not fully explored botanically. There are remote mountain valleys, isolated plateaus, places where a remnant population could theoretically survive. In 2021, a Turkish researcher named Mehmet Miski claimed to have found a plant in Turkey that could be silphium. The plant, called Ferula drudana, matches many ancient descriptions, but the botanical community remains skeptical. The evidence isn't conclusive. The plant grows in Turkey, not Libya. The properties are similar but not identical to ancient descriptions. The search continues. The story of silphium isn't just ancient history, it's a warning. Today, plant species are going extinct faster than at any time in human history. 1 in 5 plants is threatened with extinction. We're losing species before we even discover them. And just like silphium, many of these plants could have extraordinary medicinal properties. Compounds that could cure diseases, chemicals that could revolutionize medicine. Remember, 70% of modern cancer drugs are derived from natural sources. The rosy periwinkle, a flower from Madagascar, provides chemicals that treat childhood leukemia and Hodgkin's lymphoma. How many other miracle plants are we losing before we discover what they can do? The Romans harvested silphium to extinction because it was too valuable to conserve. We're doing the exact same thing today, just on a global scale. Stand in any major museum with a collection of Roman coins, and you'll see it. That distinctive plant-shaped silphium, captured in silver, preserved for eternity, mocking us with what we've lost. It appears on hundreds of coins from Sepni, always prominent, always celebrated, a constant reminder of their monopoly, their wealth, their power, and maybe, just maybe, every heart shape you've ever seen is an echo of this lost plant. Those distinctive seed pods transformed over millennia into the universal symbol of love. If that's true, then silphium never really disappeared. It's still with us, hidden in plain sight, in every Valentine, every emoji, every doodle in a notebook margin. But symbols aren't enough. What we really lost was knowledge. If the ancient sources are even half accurate, silphium had properties we still don't fully understand. Natural appetite suppression, we're fighting an obesity epidemic. Safe, effective herbal birth control, millions of women worldwide lack access to contraception. Powerful anti-inflammatory effects? We're in the middle of an autoimmune disease crisis. Could silphium have contributed to solving these problems? We'll never know. The plant is gone, the knowledge is gone, and we're left with tantalizing hints of what might have been. The story of silphium teaches us something vital. Value isn't the same as preservation. The Romans valued silphium so much, they put it on their money. But they valued it as a commodity, not as a species. They saw what it could give them, not what they would lose. And by the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. Today, we have a choice the Romans didn't have. We understand extinction, we understand ecology, we understand that once a species is gone, it's gone forever, along with millions of years of evolution, unique genetic codes, and potential benefits we haven't even imagined yet. We have seed banks, protected reserves, international conservation agreements. We have the tools to prevent another silphium. The question is, will we use them? Somewhere in North Africa, under 2,000 years of dust and change, the last silphium plant withered and died. No one recorded it, no one noticed. The great city of Cyrene, built on silphium wealth, crumbled into ruins. The monopoly that made them rich couldn't save them once their treasure was exhausted. Maybe someday a botanist will stumble upon a remote valley, a single plant growing wild that matches the ancient descriptions. Maybe silphium survives somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered. Or maybe it's gone forever, a reminder that wealth and power mean nothing if you destroy the very thing that gave them to you. The next time you see a heart shape, think of silphium. Think of everything we had, everything we lost, and everything we still have a chance to save.